The Mangog is on the warpath, Odin and the Odinson are the last lines of defense, and Jane Foster's one step closer to death. All coming up in the video. What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This is iRate Reviews, the show where I go over a comic book, its story, its art, give you my impressions, and let you know whether it's something you should go back to the comic book shop for or not. So make sure you subscribe to get more of these every single week. The book that I want to talk about right now is The Mighty Thor 704, which continues the Death of Mighty Thor arc. Jane Foster is one step closer to death. The Mangog is raging across Asgardia and threatens to destroy it in its entirety. Odin and the Odinson are the last ones that are on the line of defense, while Freya interacts with Loki and finds out all kinds of different things. Jane Foster is about to make a decision that she might regret for the rest of her short life. But let's dive into the book and see exactly what we got. Ever since Mighty Thor 700, Mighty Thor has been one of my favorite storylines, and Jason Aaron has done a fantastic job because it seems like a story that's going to have real consequences. And that's where we open up. As a child, as she watched her own mother fall to the turmoil of cancer, this disease that couldn't be beaten in that point in time, and Jane dedicated herself to becoming better than that. She is going to have to find her own path, find her own answers, and find something worthy of a daughter like her. And then what we see is we see the now. We see Jane Foster going through these things, trying to find a God that she could believe in, and she just hasn't quite found those things. But what we kind of see is that she's already become a God that she can believe in, because she believes in herself, and then there's another thing that believes in her. But we'll get to that in a little bit later part of the video, because the important thing is what's going on Asgardia. You've got the Mangog, and he's fighting Odin and Odinson. Basically, this last father and son combo is the last thing that stands between Asgardia and destruction. And the Mangog is absolutely wrecking house with these guys, blasting Thor out into the middle of nowhere where Tooth Grinder has to go grab him. He grabs the throne and smashes it over Odin's head. But Odin, being one of the most resilient beings in the universe, gathers up the Odin force, and he's just like, I remember. He's all groggy and shit. He was like, I remember as, Mangog hitting harder, blah, blah, blah. What it comes down to is that there is just this giant battle between this embodiment of death and hatred versus the All-Father, versus the Odinson, as they draw upon their various powers as Asgardians and fight this beastie. Interspersed with this, we actually see the other parts of Jane Foster's history. When Jane was a nurse and she was told that her father was dead by, Dr. Blake. And it's just one of those things where you're seeing Jason Aaron line up these poignant pieces of history that are going to lead to the decision that Jane Foster is going to make at the end of the book. But we're not quite there yet. The important thing is that she's still got her support system. You've got these interactions with, your Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. member. You've got Sam Wilson sitting by her bedside. You've got Doctor Strange still kind of as a doctor, a veterinarian, but now regaining some of the powers of Sorcerer Supreme. And then you've got a great little cameo by Thori, no hammers allowed. Thori, murder all hammers. Are you a hammer? Like looking at a person, asking them if they're a hammer. So it's just one of those really funny things. So as he talks to Rosalind, as he talks to Sam, as he talks to Steven, she understands what she has to do, and she has to fight this so that way she can fight more in the future. She's not the only person that's got to realize some things. We see Lady Freya recovering from her use of the Destroyer armor, and who's here but Loki? And there's a great conversation that happens between Loki where she is just absolutely surprised to see him there. He's offering help as the Sorcerer Supreme, and she's just having none of it, backhanding him across the face and just berating him. And stop calling me mother. You have lost the right to use those words. So as he calls her Lady Freya, and you can see the kind of look of sadness and distance in his eyes, as his reputation, his history, his actions as a sorcerer are nothing compared to his actions, the liar, a betrayer, and a trickster god. And as he lays down these things, as he talks about the fall of Asgard, as she talks about the fall of Asgardia, there is nothing that can be done for Asgardia today. There's nothing. It's just going to fall. Not the All-Father, not the Odinson, not Freya. Nobody can save it as he leaves. So the War of the Realms is going to continue. The fall of Asgardia is assured. So we already know these things in advance, and then you see the Mangog just absolutely devastating the controls for Asgardia, sending it hurtling towards something that we don't necessarily know about, thinking that he might shove it into the stars itself, leave it headed on a direct crash course to the sun. But then we just jump back into another point in time. We've got another interaction. Now Jane knows Thor. And while Thor is a hero, while she knows Thor personally, her ex-husband Jimmy, her son, they were lost. They were lost in this car crash, this accident. And she was a doctor. She couldn't save them. As a hero, he couldn't save them. So what good are the gods? What good are heroes if they can't do these things for people? And it's one of those situations where we start to see more and more of the personality that goes along with this. Jason Aaron is laying this on pretty heavy, laying it on pretty thick. Russell Dodderman is doing a fantastic job with the art and the portrayal of these different characters. The contrast between Jane Foster as a healthy individual, as a young person, as a child, and what she is now with her bald head and her sunken features, the devastation of cancer that's taken its toll, and how she's kind of interacting with the other people are very distinct, and it's fantastic way to portray the character as she's going through what is probably her final arc. And it's all kind of poignantly crossed with these fantastical elements of Asgardia, these bright, brilliant colors, this travel through space, this cosmic landscape, the vibrant colors of the Mangog, the violence that's going along with it. There's so many things that are causing you to think, well, they're pulling out all the stops for this one, and that is definitely what we're seeing. As Jane Foster looks down at her hands, as she's taking in exactly what's going on with her diagnosis, she looks out the window, sees her hammer, and says to her cancer, "I would have beaten you too, you cancerous sons of bitches." Then we see what we were all expecting. And it doesn't make it any less powerful in my mind. Even though we knew that it was going to happen, it's still one of the most poignant things because you've got the essence of what's going on. You've got the Mangog absolutely pummeling Odin, pummeling Freya, pummeling Odin's son, and you see the history, you see the words of Stephen Strange saying, if you turn into Thor, Jane Foster will die. You'll see Thori sitting in the doorstep. Murder? Why murder self? And it's just, she has a purpose, she is the god that she can believe in, and she has to become Thor to defend Asgardia, to defend millions of people, and make sure that they have a god worth believing in. And I am just absolutely blown away by what this story is bringing to me in terms of, justification, the storyline for Jason Aaron that started all the way back in Thor, God of Thunder, and made it through Original Sin and now into Mighty Thor and the final parts of Mighty Thor before we get into a new story that was just announced as part of the solicitations. I am just enamored with what they have done as a team to create this environment where I feel very good about how everything's going to end, and that the poignant matter of Jane Foster's death is going to be something that it's intrinsically linked to the Thor character for quite some time. So I'm excited to see where this goes. The art by Dodderman's fantastic. The writing by Aaron's solid. And with him taking over Avengers, it just makes me super excited for where Avengers is going to go too. So I really recommend that people go back and read Jason Aaron's run on Thor right from the start, because if you haven't, you're missing out on one of the great series of runs inside the Thor history. But I want to know what you guys think too, so hit me up in the comments down below so we can start that conversation. As always, if you like what you see, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything inside the world of comics.